What is up, YouTube, DTube, Steam blockchain? So today I want to talk a little bit about this machine learning decade. So around a decade ago, I started out on YouTube and started buying devices, iPod Touch, uh, Sony Zen Nano MP3 player, creative player, MP3 player it was called. Played music, MP3 songs. I think this was in 2007. I got the Nintendo DS Lite 2007. I got the PSP 3000 2007. I got my first computer 2007, an HP computer with a big box. 2009 I bought my first iPod Touch, and in 2011, I bought the Galaxy S2 and the Galaxy Note, and that is when I really started to buy a lot of smartphones. Around a decade ago, or 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So what has changed? Well, I can do a lot of those things again. Like, I can do a lot of videos, right? I can do a lot of videos on a lot of new devices, right? And I do that. But sometimes you also sort of realize eventually that smartphones are hitting a maturing phase. That will say eventually everyone has these devices, and it becomes more about other stuff, because you don't have to show that much to people anymore. It's like people kind of know their way around their devices. So you start off within the decade, then it was not machine learning. Then it was really like everyone needs a smartphone. And now people are starting to have pretty decent devices. So now it becomes more about how you can be creative with your device, with your smartphone. So this decade, it's been a lot about like showing people, like just unboxing phones. Like a big part of what I have done is just like I just bought phones and I just unboxed them. I did not really do anything out of out of the ordinary. This decade, I think, is going to be way more focused on machine learning, because it's like if we can have an animation, or machine learning can do so much cooler animations and so many cooler videos, and it can come up with so many more cooler stuff than what we created in this 2010 decade. So this is going to be the decade of machine learning, and it's really getting good. So I have the Galaxy S10 Plus. I can create AR emojis like full scale. I have apps on my Android phone where I can produce GIFs, I can replace faces. It's getting really, really good. It's getting really, really, really good. I used to use my MacBook Pro to edit videos, but with the Galaxy S10 Plus, it starts to sound like an ad. But this phone is like, you kind of realize, and I used to edit videos on with the MacBook Pro, Final Cut Pro, and I used to record with a Sony camera. But with the Galaxy S10 Plus, I'm recording this video with the Galaxy S10 Plus, by the way, like the front-facing camera. This, you realize with this phone, it's like, okay, I can just edit it on the phone. I can just video record on the phone, because the front-facing camera is so good that a couple of years ago it was not really this good. I mean, it was really bad. It was really, really bad, to be honest. But now, just because it's so good, it's like, okay, but I can do it all with this device, right? So if I can do it with the device, eventually you sort of realize, like, okay, what's the point of videos eventually? I mean, eventually we're gonna go full on machine learning. We're gonna feed data to the machine, and it's gonna create so much better videos than what we ever done, right? Because we can tell the AI, oh, do this video, or like try this new creative thing by looking at this data set, and create something that has not existed in it before. So it's going to be like a lot of mixing, and we're already seeing this, like the last few months here of 2019. Now we are in the 2020s, But the last few years of 2019, you can see a speed up of of fun face swaps on YouTube. For example, Control Alt Face. He is like face swapping faces in popular movies with other popular characters, and it's really getting good. I mean, this was not possible just a year ago, or maybe it was possible. I think it came big time like 2 years ago, but now it's like it's really getting good. Like, you know, yeah, it's really getting good, machine learning. And even the machine learning thing, I have sort of seen that you can do a lot. Like, you don't need a full scale machine learning and like this high end computer to do all of that. I mean, even like basic stuff, like there are coming these new Android apps where you can like face swap with GIFs, and it really works great, and it takes like 10 seconds. A lot of these renders that they are doing, which is a little bit more advanced, it takes a couple of hours or a couple of days to render a couple of minutes. But it sort of seems like in a year or two, this is gonna happen like on your device, like locally. It's like, yeah, it really seems like that. And also, we also have this aspect that we don't really need to render with machine learning. I mean, in theory, we can render like super cool stuff that looks like super realistic, but a lot of people are happy with like this animation render, for example, AR emoji style render or like cartoon style render, but you just replace the face with whatever you want. So, and that just goes so much faster, like in terms of render, like machine learning. So that's going to be really exciting to see how that develops, because it's going to develop. Like, you'll be able to do everything on your phone, and it's going to be really interesting, like, to be honest. So it's going to be fascinating to see machine learning roll out here in the 2020s decades, and I'm mainly looking forward to it all be rolled out to smartphones. So right now it's a little bit hard to play around with machine learning because usually there's no Android app. I mean, there's some coming, but you usually have to dig around a little bit and access to the right tools and right experimentation sets. It's not really there at the moment, and a lot of apps, a lot of Android apps, they are not like communicating data across each others and sharing that data. Imagine when all of this is going to share data sets and people can really dive deeper into creating new stuff that is just so much better. I've been considering ideas as automated advertising. That also seems like it's going to be a big thing. You see, for example, how much money these smartphone companies have. A lot of them has like $100 billion cash on hand. Even Facebook has like, they're gonna make like $80 billion this year. So a lot of these big companies, tech companies and hardware companies, they're gonna have they have a lot of cash on hand where they can play around with, okay, what are they gonna do with all this money? And it seems like they're moving into streaming and entertainment and see how they can provide more value there. So they are making a lot of money and it looks like they're not sharing it, but eventually we benefit because they do research and development and they give us some more value in some sort of way. It is going to be interesting to see that play out, especially with animation and machine learning, and see how much you can speed that up, because a lot of entertainment, like, people think we need like full scale movies, 3D movies, like advanced graphics, but many times just like a 5 second GIF video or photo format is a 5 second one of those. It can be extremely entertaining and amusing and great entertainment. So, and imagine how many more interesting stuff you can play around with that when you can create your own custom GIFs. And machine learning use that to create even new undiscovered stuff that people never seen before, and see if there is a market for a lot of these things, and that can be really fascinating. I also think the GIFs, it can help people understanding each other more. Um, because the way humans are seeing things, if they're just reading text, a lot of stuff gets misinterpreted and stuff like that because different cultures or whatever. But GIFs and like short videos can really help to express something in a better way, in a better format. And it seems like machine learning is truly going to help with that regard. And it's going to be interesting to see all these stuff merge, like data from different websites, different apps, different people sharing data and across devices and so on. And I think that people eventually realize with memory that the more inclusive memory is, the more data sets get shared, and the more open systems you have, and the more people that have access to different systems, the better. Everyone eventually want to reach as the maximum amount of people, right? So eventually you need all these data sets to be shared, and that's really where stuff is heading, right? You see how a lot of apps on a smartphone or on different websites they are starting to be able to do the same thing on each service, and they're like copying and pasting each other, and they're looking what other people are doing, and then they're copying that and cloning different features, and this just keeps going on and on. And eventually I think that we're going to go to this final state where you can have things you don't need to. Eventually you probably won't need to open up apps to do certain things. You'll be able to use, say, a voice command. We sort of half already into that, because a lot of time, like, if you could do something without have to switch apps all the time, or switch the browser you're in, that would be way better, right? So more playful user experiences, where you can customize your interface and so on. That's going to be super exciting, to be honest. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to follow this industry and see how machine learning develops. And I don't believe in these like these gimmicky topics of that the big things are going to be like folding devices or smartwatches, or like that the smartphone is just going to fade away. I don't, and that use voice is going to take over everything. I don't think so, really. I still think that the smartphone is going to be such a large player still. It's just that people are probably going to go and explore other stuff on their smartphones when they get better tools for it. It's going to be interesting to follow. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of gimmicks about folding screens and smartwatches, and like, oh, we need like faster internet, like 5G and so on. But no, and then like the 5G stuff looks like it's a little bit shady, right? If you really dive deeper into it. I mean, it's like we already have great Wi-Fi, wireless, and it's working amazing, to be honest. Like, even like a 10 megabits per second speed, like people don't really need it more than that. Like, it's like some serious nonsense. Even because you can even like stream stuff pretty good with like 10 megabits. So what else are people gonna stream, right? And the people already have a lot of offline mode features. So yeah, it's some serious nonsense with that. We don't need faster internet speeds. We really don't. Like, many people have already plenty, and our growth for like streaming and so on. I mean, it's not like we are exponentially consuming more. It's just that more people are getting onboarded on the internet, and it seems like that we're like consuming more and more and more at some weird rate. Yeah, we're consuming more, but not at this like exponential speed where we need like gigabit speed connections. I mean, that's some serious nonsense. Especially when data, as I said, when you can strip data easier and people can get direct access to the exact amount of data that they want, uh, we need even less data, right? So we're wasting a lot right now. Yeah, so it's like there's a lot of gimmicks. I think the big thing is going to be machine learning and deep learning. And I think that people want tools to experiment more with stuff. And if they can play around with machine learning and like do their own sort of creations, or if they can have their device make money for them in digital token ways and they don't even have to touch the device, I mean, that is more where I think like stuff is heading. And that artificial intelligence is going to be so good that I'm not even sure in 5 years if a lot of people will need a job, because it's going to grow like at an exponential rate. Smartphones are getting exponentially smarter and more intelligent and better, and the key thing here is that they can do more with less, and also that we as human beings are becoming smarter with how we are using the devices. We're starting to realize what kind of habit that sucks and what kind of apps that we don't really need, and we're sort of starting to realize like what kind of data that we are really interested in the most, and that there's a lot of nonsense that we don't really care about. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see this machine learning decade be rolled out. And it really is like how the consumers are using the technology that would like decide how stuff will go. So yeah, what the consumer decides to do with all this new technology, like that's what it's going to be. So technology is just neutral. It doesn't have like its own fancy ideas. But humans, they decide what this technology will be used for. They decide how to use machine learning. They decide how to use deep learning. They decide what new technology we should play around with. And they will also decide if some new technology is some serious nonsense that we don't really need. Yeah, it's a play of data, right? It's a play of data and the memory, and we're probably gonna have artificial intelligence that thinks a million times better than a human being within maybe just 10 years time. So we're gonna do everything we can with data and memory, and it's gonna be a lot of unpleasant stuff that comes out of that, and it's gonna be a lot of pleasant stuff that comes out of that. A machine can never be conscious though. It's never gonna be conscious like you have consciousness, but a machine cannot like have that. But it can play around with data and memory, and that's what it's going to do. So for people that want to explore machine learning, it's gonna be a really fun time. It's gonna be a really fun time, and yeah, it's gonna be fun to see it play out. That is what I want to talk a little bit about in this video. Have an awesome day, YouTube, DTube, and the Steem blockchain. Bye bye.